What's up, everybody? It's Tommy T and my beautiful wife, Artieka T. You're listening to or watching another episode of another episode of the August Love Story podcast. Today is an interesting episode just because we're talking about work-life balance, and I don't believe that I have a good one. So I'm interested to hear your your response to that. But first, I wanted to ask, what is work-life balance? Because
I don't know. So people like to describe work-life balance as 50-50. And I think if you put it in the scheme of a day, it's supposed to be 8 hours at work, 8 hours at home, 8 hours of sleep. Ain't that the 24 hours in a day?
Yeah, 8 times 3 is 24, yeah.
Okay, that doesn't exist.
Nah.
Ever.
Right.
Because if you spend 8 hours at work, you've already lost either, let's just say you have a typical 30-minute commute. You've already lost an hour from either home life or from sleeping just by commuting to and from work. Add in a lunch, that's another hour. So we're already down to 7 and 7 or 6 and 8, depending on how that goes. And then you factor in kids, you've lost. I don't know where we get the idea, or society has told us that you need to be able to balance your home and your job. And honestly and truly, unless you own the business, actually not even then, because when you own the business, you work more. Right. Unless you don't work full time, you don't have a true 30-30 or 33-33-33 balance for those 8 hours. I guess you have to figure out then how to split your time, because people like to do it as 50-50 as well, saying that there's 50% of the time you're at work and the other 50% you're at home. That's all fine and dandy, but again, still doesn't factor in for sleeping, incidentals, and overworking on projects.
Right. So ultimately, the work-life balance is just the balance between work and home, work and spending time with family. Like I said earlier, I don't think I do well with it. I don't think it's a good or bad thing, but I think it is important just because you do have to take time away.
I think that for you, and I'm just using your case specifically, you're fine with your actual structured 9-to-5 job as long as we're not in the midst of a pandemic. Yeah. Factoring in the pandemic has made you work longer hours to get more things done. I don't know if you would have gotten more things done in the office, or if things are just coming at different directions, or you work at a different pace. But the pandemic has lessened the balance a little bit. But I'm going to add another layer to that and say also that you starting a business in the midst of a pandemic has also added to that not having a balance, because you've had to pull from home life to basically funnel into that new work life to figure those things out, which we've always, at least almost as long as we've been married. Yeah, almost as long as we've been married, you've had something else that was going on outside of work and home. Like you don't get to come home and just completely shut down from everything because you had school.
Right.
Then you have me on the other hand, who I don't work full time currently, and I still don't think I have a good balance. Like, I think that I spend so much of my day dreading doing things because I'm so tired that I kill my balance that I could have. But in that same regard, I think it's a myth, and I wish we could retrain our brains and how we think of the balance. Or we as a society can move away from 8-hour work days, because that's really the issue for me.
No, I hear what you're saying. Like, just going back to me, on my end of it, I'm looking at knowing that my 9-to-5 job is gonna take care of certain things, right, in my home. But there is also the need to have another source. Like, we always hear about the things, we always hear, hey, you need to have multiple sources of income. You know, well, one of those sources is starting a business. One of those sources is investing. One of those sources is, savings. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have these multiple sources, but in the end, you still have your 9-to-5. Well, in my case, I still have my 9-to-5, and then starting to start a business, you know, and really getting into what I need to do, getting into a schedule with that and everything like that. And then on top of everything else, I did have school. You know, finally graduated, but you know, I did have school, so it's like, you know, trying to balance all that with the family and with the baby and you, but it's like my motivation for working so hard or seeming to work hard is so I can take better care of you guys, you know, and that's where my non-balance comes from. So my question to you, because I know where it has affected me in our relationship, but how has my non-work balance or my everyday shifting work balance, how has it affected you and in our relationship?
I think that the biggest part of it that has impacted me is feeling like I can't just say, hey, here's Lily, I just need a minute.
Yeah.
And that's because you're usually working on something. And I try to balance working on what I'm working on with her, unless it's something that's dangerous, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I know that there are certain things that I can't do with her around because, of course, sharp objects, 300 and some degree heat sources. Right. I just can't do those things with her. Or even trying to take client calls sometimes. For me, it gets to be difficult when I'm working on projects. But I always feel like, you know, hey, he's doing something. Let me try to watch her. Like, but she's gotten to a point now where she wants to be around you. Yeah. Like, and it doesn't matter what I say. It's like, no, my daddy's in there. I'm going in here with daddy. And she just comes and she sits in your space. Right. And you're like, hey, I'm not watching her. And it's like, I can't force her to stay out here with me unless you want to hear her scream because she wants to get out of her playpen, because that's the only place I can contain her in. Yeah. But I guess that's been the biggest impact for me, because like I was never a very clingy, I need to be close to you all the time kind of person. I'm not Karen.
Right, she's not
from
Karen.
Married at First Sight. But I've never been clingy and just needing to be like on top of you or around you. But I do like, I miss having my own personal like space and time to just exist as just me. Like, I don't want to be a mom. I don't want to be a wife. I just want to be Artieka in some moments. And I feel like I miss out on those a little bit with you trying to balance everything, because you can take off your hats and I never get to take off the mom hat. Yeah. That one's a tough one to take off. Maybe I need to go on vacation.
Maybe. Yeah, so like I know, you know, I know those things, and the biggest thing was with being able to balance with Lily and everything. But it's for me, it's, I feel like it's getting better because I'm starting to be able to make things automatic for me. Automate things. I couldn't think of the word I was looking for, but I'm starting to be able to automate things, and things are starting to become a schedule, you know, within my weeks and stuff. Now I'm gonna throw a big loop in there next year for, you know, once I start studying for this next test. But, you know, but for now, it's like it's starting to get into a loop and getting her on a specific type of schedule and everything like that. So that's starting to be a lot helpful. As far as the work-life balance, we talked about the importance. We talked about the effect on us and the relationship. What other aspects of work-life balance do you feel is important or noteworthy to let everybody know about?
I guess one of the things that and this was prior to us having a child, was I had a previous job where I was always on. Like I was working 40 hours a week and then I was on call 40 hours a week, essentially. Sometimes even more than that because I was doing weekends on call. That got to be very difficult. And a lot of that was because I didn't have a child. And people think that childless adults have all this free time. And it doesn't mean that they do. It just means that they don't have a child taking up their time.
Right.
So one of the things that I always suggest to people is to be cognizant of how you present your time, because people will abuse your time. Even if you don't have kids, even if you don't have a spouse, like your time is still valid because it is yours. Right. And people like to assume things about your time because some of the busiest people I know don't have children, but they're actively out doing a lot of things that are either fulfilling to them or making them money. Some are both. Like they're fulfilling and they're making the money. But I think that we as a society need to stop trying to one up other people on their balance, as well as stop trying to dictate and plan out how they spend their time. Because that is one of the bigger issues for work-life balance, is because it's how people perceive your time to be spent. And it doesn't matter because, as Tabitha Brown says, it's not your business. This is my business. Right. Nah,
I feel that.
So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
That's all you got?
I think.
Oh, okay.
I think. Like, and another thing.
Now, I just find it like this conversation between us was mostly important to me because I know where there's no balance. I know where there's room for improvement, and for us to be able to sit down and say, hey, this is where I need to improve, or this is what I was lacking. It's very helpful to me because I get to see it. I also like, it's another thing in knowing my spouse, you know what I'm saying? Knowing where things are hectic for her, because like the difference between me and her is that I take on a lot more than she does, and I'm able to handle it a lot better than she does. There's no dig at her or anything like that.
I'm stressed.
But it's like, I can handle a lot more just because that's just the way I work. You know
but I think also to that same thing is that you handle physical workload and I handle physical and mental workload as far as like the way that the home functions. So like nobody's asking you, hey, do you know when Lily's next doctor's appointment is? Because I know you don't know the answer.
It's in November. I know that much.
Good job. But like little things like that, like making sure that we stay on task for things of that nature, knowing where things are, how to access them, and like dealing with those small nuances of the day can get draining, because your mind is always going. Like I always tell you, I just need to quiet my brain. Like I need to have a moment where I just don't think about anything. I play dumb games on my phone for brain quieting because it's something else to think about other than everything that's going on around us. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Did we have any listener letters for today?
We did. Please send your listener letters to ouraugustlovestory@gmail.com, and we just may read it aloud on the show. Today's listener letter says, my best friend's friend sent me an invitation to Jamaica for my best friend's 30th birthday. Of course, I said yes. She didn't clarify if it was a ladies only trip or not, so I wrote her back and I asked. Her response was, I only considered you, but I'll add your husband. So far, the only men invited are, and she named 4 guys. She said, you and your husband will be the only couple. And she also makes mention that I omitted these guys' names, but clearly they are single men. The friend, not the best friend, but the friend that's doing the invitations, has never met my husband because we live in another state. My best friend loves my husband and was my maid of honor in my wedding and would never intentionally include him unless it was a ladies only trip. So this person has invited me to stay in a villa in another country with other men and women, but not my husband, then made a point of it to say that we'd be the only couple. My question is this normal? Tommy, would you be okay with Artieka going on this trip without you?
No, I don't think that's normal. Neither would I be like accepting of that. Like I would be like, nah, I want to go. Either I want to go, you know what I'm saying? Or I don't want you to go. You know what I'm saying? Because of the guys. Yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable with like they get to go. I wouldn't feel like you're gonna like try to get with one of them guys because those guys are single too, right? Mm-hmm. But I would just feel like, why these guys get to go and I can't, right. And I'll be with my wife.
Right. I agree. I think that it's odd to say that a couple is weird, but random single guys are not. That's just a little like off-putting for me. On top of that being off-putting, like a girls only trip, okay, cool. A girls only trip and a gay guy, okay, cool. But when we start inviting single men who are heterosexual, why can't my husband come? Right. So I probably wouldn't go, or my husband would go. Those would be my 2 options. Yeah. But I wouldn't go without my husband unless, of course, he had a prior obligation that made it so that he could not come. But I do find that a little bit awkward, and I would probably ask the friend, like, I don't remember. Did she say it was a surprise trip?
I don't know.
I don't know how you surprise me for another country. No, it's not a surprise trip. So yeah, no, I would ask the friend, like, what's up with your girl?
Right.
Why is these other dudes coming and mine is awkward to come? Yeah. Like, what?
Right. Yeah. So what's our quote for the episode?
All right, so today's quote comes from somebody that is screwing up the presidential election, but he wasn't on my ballot. From Kanye West. The song is Flashing Lights. He says she don't believe in shooting stars, but she believes in shoes and cars. Wood floors in the new apartment, couture from the store's department.
And there you have it.
That's all, I wasn't going to do it anymore.
Kanye used to be dope, man. Well, I think he's still dope. It's just like the antics outside of his artistry has really affected how people take on him and his music.
I think Kanye's level of wealth has also made him not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not attainable. His level of wealth has made him where he's not the same as us. Yeah. Because in the first like maybe 3 to 4 albums, he was rapping about things that we understood, like dropping out of college, drunk and hot girls. Yeah. I don't remember what else, like another song that I can just throw out there. But he was rapping about things like that made sense to us. Like, if my manager insults me again, I will be assaulting him. Yeah. And now, like, he married a Kardashian and things have just...
Hey, I don't think that had anything with the.
I don't know. It happened before that because he was spiraling with Amber. I think like his mother's death, coupled with his bad decisions with women, has just been like, and then his mental health issues.
I think his mom's death has spiraled. It's not about Kanye.
It's not.
But yeah. So work-life balance, man, is key to. Like for us, it's key to our relationship and just learning how to get that work-life balance. It's not going to work out, first time, you get out here. But, you said you plan to have it. You know what I'm saying? It's important just because it's important for a human being not to be always on at one time. And then it's especially important to give your family, give your relationship that we're
trying to have a work-life balance here, but our child is singing in the background.
I'm trying
my best.
Lily. Sing it, girl. But guys, thank you once again for listening to another episode of August Love Story, the podcast. Take it away, baby.
Please like us on all social media platforms. August Love Story on Instagram, August Love Story on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube page, August Love Story. If you search August Love Story, we'll pop right up. Please like this video, comment down below, and turn on the notification bell so that you can be notified every time we drop videos. Because in addition to our podcast, Thursdays. I was about to say Wednesdays. But
no, the podcast comes out on Wednesdays.
No. I was saying in addition to that.
Married at First Sight comes out on Thursdays.
That's what I was getting to. And we are getting close to the ending of this season of Married at First Sight. So things are getting good and we're about to hit decision day soon.
You excited about that? Anyway, guys, thank you once again. And if that's all you have, that's all I got. We're gone. We're out. Peace.
Bye.